What's up? So it's Christmas Day. And first of all, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. If you've been following along with any degree of regularity, you will have recognized that there has been a gap in production. Now, why is that? There's been a lot of traveling, a lot of running around. In short, a lot of life has been lived. And now that I'm back, it's time to talk about some more movies and different things. So, got a lot to talk about. But since we're here, we're going to start talking about something a little bit different. And because it's Christmas, I thought it might be fun to talk about a rather underrated Christmas movie. It's a film that not a lot of people talk about. And or if they do, there's not much to say about it. But I intend to change that with this video. So sit back, relax, and gear up for this discussion about Icetastrophe. Christmas Icetastrophe, or Icetastrophe, is a film I had only seen one time ever, probably around 2013, 2014. And it was such an experience that I remembered it just as I'd seen it yesterday. So I thought for kicks this year, in 2022, I would watch it again. And it's just as fantastic as I remember it, if not better. So what's going on with this movie? This movie was distributed by Sci-Fi, the good folks behind movies like Sharknado, well, the Sharknado series, Lava Lantula, and others. Sorry, those titles are funny to me. Those titles give you a good example of what you're in for. And speaking of that, what you're in for is essentially a disaster film that takes place during Christmas time. Simple. And you got snow, a lot of snow, which is perfect for the Christmas theme and stuff. In short, this movie is a masterpiece in terms of how bad it is. It's really, critically, it's not the best movie, if I'm being honest. That said, there are some cool things about it. As a film head and someone who appreciates the art of filmmaking, I can see there's some things that are cool about it. Like, there's some cool shots, there's some interesting special effects, even though it's not great by sort of the standards of the modern audience in terms of what they expect for good computer-generated imagery. It's not that. It's very much television level CGI, but as an idea, like executing an idea, I think it gets points for that because it succeeds in that. You understand what everything looks like. If there's a massive iceberg that shoots out of nowhere and like icicles, things jacking people up, whatever it is, it may not look great, but the idea is executed well enough to where you still react viscerally, like, oh man, they got jacked up. So I think you should give it some points for that. And while I don't necessarily recommend you to watch it if you want to see a good movie, I do, however, recommend to watch it for a fun experience. And this is when you can watch, you can drink a little bit alcohol, have a good time watching it. You can smoke some weed, watch it, have a good time. But if you're completely sober, you can also watch it and have a good time. In fact, that's how that's what I did. Now, but I encourage you to experiment and see, should you decide to watch it one day. It's free on Pluto TV. It's actually free on a lot of streaming services. If you just look up Icetastrophe on your smart TV or whatever it is, you'll find it for free almost everywhere. And rightfully so, you should find it free because this movie is not necessarily worth paying any amount of money for. Now, you might be wondering why the heck I'm talking about this movie. It sounds like I'm bashing it. And I don't mean to sound like that. I actually do appreciate it. Why the heck did I watch it this time? I was curious. I said, let me watch this mess again. Just because, I wanted to have a good time and you have some good chuckles. The acting is interesting. You'll have And it's the actors are not bad to look at. So I have a theory about Canadian actors. This film is comprised of almost completely Canadian actors, and my theory is this: when I see Canadian actors, someone on screen who looks right, this is not always now. For certain, especially for TV shows, most of the pretty people, I find that a lot of really nice looking people happen to be from Canada. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it. I don't know if there's any truth to this, but I understand that the film community is fairly strong out that way. A lot of the people that I've had crushes on growing up, on a lot of the TV shows that I've seen, have happened to be Canadian. So, do what you will with that. But in Icetastrophe, you have several people who are quite lovely to look at. And if you're looking, just for eye candy, it's good. It's good for that reason alone. But now, what are we actually talking about? What is this movie actually about? So it's about a guy named Charlie, played by Victor Webster, and he's our hero. He's the everyman, sort of blue-collar, working-class man. And by the way, he's quite handsome. And he sounds handsome. He's got a great voice. He looks great. He's got good facial hair. So yes, by this man. He's, in a no-name town. I don't think they said what the name of the town was. They might have. I just missed it. But he's estranged from his wife, and they have a son, a teenage son. And he is sort of the town hero. He's a good guy. He's got a good heart. And he's, ultimately he's going to get caught up in a disaster scenario where he's going to have to figure out how to not only keep himself safe, but keep the town safe. He seems to be the only guy who is willing to go out on a limb and risk himself to save people. And counteracting that, you have, or I should say, next to that, you have a grad student named Alex Novak, who is played by Jennifer Spence, who you may know from, I recognized her from the show Travelers on Netflix, which I think also was another Canadian TV show that ended up being broadcast on or streaming services on Netflix, which is decent shows. Check it out if you haven't seen it. It's an interesting look. But anyway, Alex Novak is the grad student. Of course, you have to have a science head around to explain what's happening and to also use their brain to help solve the problem. And so that's really what the film is. You got Charlie, regular everyman dude who's just got a good heart, trying to help everybody. Alex Novak, who's the nerdy science grad student who's fascinated by the situation and wants to study it and also wants to try to stay alive and stuff like that. So that's what we have. Outside of that, you have a town of people who are just trying to survive the extreme cold. Oh, I should mention, you have a meteor essentially that hits the Earth and splits into two pieces. You have one extremely cold piece, one hot piece. Obviously, the town we're dealing with gets hit with the cold piece, and it's like really cold to the point to where it spontaneously explodes coldness, and that if you're too close, you will not only freeze, but you might explode in the process or crumble to icicles and stuff. That's how serious it is. You're like, it's majorly cold. So that's what we're dealing with. And the whole town ends up suffering from this extreme catastrophe, or icetastrophe, I should say. And it's great fun to watch. So that's essentially what we have. And from disaster movie to disaster movie, if you've seen one, you've seen them all, in one sense. What you haven't seen is the execution. And so again, what I mentioned before about how this film gets points for execution, I think it may not be great. It may not be what you expect, what you want to see, sort of high quality stuff, but it is functional. It's passable. And I think that alone is enough to give it some points. The acting is inconsistent, to say the least. There's some people who are really lean into it, and sometimes it maybe comes off as too much. I think Charlie, the guy who plays Charlie, is sound. He's pretty consistent throughout the film. Whatever problem the film has in terms of acting, the writing is the real star, I should say, or the real culprit of the issues, or whatever it is. So, but it's completely serviceable. I think, hey, if you're curious, definitely watch it. Of course, you have to have a cheesy love story. And one of these things that it's sort of in the backdrop. It's really not about that. This is about Charlie and his quest to sort of continue to be a good man in the midst of, you know, people who may not be willing to help their fellow man, and disaster, frankly. And if anything, it's a testament to how, if you want to look at it this way, it's a testament to how sometimes people in extremely crazy situations can maintain their composure, or maintain their kindness, maintain their heart, maintain, you know, their humanness in the midst of a cold world around them. And I think if part of how I enjoy this film is looking at it like that. Charlie is a guy who keeps his warm humanness in the midst of extreme cold, literally, but also the callousness and coldness of some people who just want to save their own skin and not look out for their fellow man. And that's what I take away from it, on a more sort of thoughtful, serious note. But outside of that, it's great fun to watch. It's it's actually quite hilarious, and that's the only reason I would say watch it, just so you know what it's like to experience the Christmas Icetastrophe. And so on that note, everyone, I am going to close it. I wanted to just get back in, get my feet wet, get back in to get this video made and out. It's Christmas time, so I gotta do family stuff. But if you've stuck around this long, thank you for watching. Thank you for coming back. If if you're back, if you're after the break, and stick around. Got some more videos to make. Got tons of more movies to talk about, and just more movie-related things, story things to talk about. So I'm looking forward to that. Meantime, I'll see you guys in a minute. Merry Christmas, genuinely, from my family to yours. Happy holidays, and I will see you again in the next video.